Psychological disguises for your anger. See, when you have a lot of anger inside of you, it causes and you're holding it inside, you're holding it back, you're tightening your muscles, you're doing things to keep the energy inside. And we see a lot of people that will have tightness in their chest or their throat, and it's because they can't release their anger, or maybe it's their arm that doesn't work. Something that it'd be due to tight muscles in the body. But every major psychiatric diagnosis has an anger component to it, some level. Sexual disguises for your anger. Now, Jim, I'll speak to you on this one, maybe some of you ladies too, but we know rape has more to do with anger than it does with sex, right? Well, there's a lot of other disguises that we use also about that. If seduction could be a way of expressing anger. If I seduce you, I've conquered you. Would that be kind of angry? Teasing. A lot of these strip clubs, you got a dancer up there teasing, but she, it's an angry response. She didn't want anything to do with those men. She's just teasing them. How about the idea of objectifying the opposite sex? That's what happens with pornography. When somebody gets into pornography, and women are getting into pornography very rapidly these days. It's becoming the largest new audience in pornography is female. But it's objectifying the opposite sex, the opposite gender. And then, of course, lust, when you're making a person an object to be used, then that's where the lust comes in. So a lot of those things have anger involved in them and we don't even stop to think about that. But most of the sexual activities in our culture are not about loving sexual encounters. It's about using or abusing the opposite gender for sexual release. I can talk a whole long time about that one. So what we need to do is point F here. Ask God to show you your anger and the ways you hide your anger from yourself and others. Anger is a universal experience. There is no human being that's ever lived who has not had some anger at some level at some time in their life. Anger is a universal human experience. What do we do with it? Let's talk about the physiology of anger, then we'll get to the diagram. The physiology of anger. Biochemical blood chemistry changes take place in your body when you're angry. Jaws tighten, the neck muscles tense up, the adrenaline flows, causing a rapid rise in the amount of blood sugar available to the muscles. The stomach muscles flex, the eyes squint, the legs spread, the lips curl, the hands become fists, the capillaries in our arms and legs contract, the blood pressure rises, the breathing gets shallow, more rapid, digestion slows. I get ready to fight or to flight, to get out of there. And that's all the things that happen to us in that physiological response. It happens instantaneously. Okay? Now the mechanism of anger is on the next page there, and I'm going to draw a diagram on the board up here to help you understand this a little bit better. But it's written out, the things are written out on the paper there that you need to have to remember this with. But let me just draw this diagram here so you can kind of see what we're dealing with. Okay? So the first box here is the trigger events. This can be anything that causes you to feel anger or hurt. Something that scares you, like driving down the freeway and somebody swerves into your lane real fast. That could be a trigger event. You may have triggered the guy next to you and didn't realize it because you were talking to your cell phone and drifted over or something. Well, that can be a trigger event. What happens then is that we pass this trigger event through our brain and the brain associates it and makes an interpretation about how threatening this event may be. The brain makes the interpretation. And then from that interpretation we get a biochemical response, this emotional energy that's a biochemical response, those 1,400 things that happen in your body, so that you end up, and I use a little plus sign up here, but it's a little asterisk on the diagram here to represent a charge of energy in your system. Just as surely as there's electricity up there, it's an energy the same way in your body. It's got to go someplace. If we can harness the emotional energy in the human body and turn to electricity, we wouldn't have an energy crisis. But we haven't figured out how to do that one yet. Now, this emotional energy, what we learned is that from our family of origins, by the modeling and values of our family. My mother's values were she wanted me to be a gentleman, a sweet little guy, and my dad's modeling for me was he was violent. Hollered, screamed, and he beat us at times. I had blood running down my legs when I remember 4 or 5 years old. We were switching my bare legs. So I had mixed messages. But Mother's message overruled Daddy's, and he tried to become a nicer guy, and she took over running my life. That's another story. We can talk some other time. But the idea basically is that we are trained and learn what to do with our energy of anger. Like my father said, hush that crying boy, I'll give you something to cry about. We get trained by our parents what to do with the energy, that anger energy. Good girls don't get angry. Gentlemen don't talk back, whatever it might be. But all that training from our family of origin by their values and by their modeling teach us what to do with our anger and anger energy in our body. All right, you with me so far? Now, there are 3 things we can do with it. Number 1, we can act it out. We take that charge of energy, we pass it to the muscles of our body, and we release it back, try to tune it back to 0. Get it out of our system. That's what I did with football and athletics all my younger years. I would have all that energy inside of me. I was teased mercilessly in junior high school by a couple of big boys. Well, I couldn't fight back because I was told I had to fight at school. I'd get a spanking when I got home. See how all that training fit in? But football became a release for me. And on the football field, I could put on pads and hit them. And the coach liked it the harder I hit them. And I liked it the harder I hit them. And so I became a pretty good football player. But it was used to get rid of the anger that I'd been carrying inside of me from my own childhood, but also from the teasing these older boys did in my life. Okay? So that's what happens. Now, there are appropriate ways to act this energy out, and there are inappropriate ways. I think football was an appropriate way for me to act the energy out. It can be taking a tennis racket and going hitting tennis balls. Pow, pow, pow. You can even picture somebody's face on a tennis ball and hit it hard because you're angry at them. I remember I had anger one time when I got a bucket of golf balls, and man, I hit the cover off those golf balls. Didn't go straight, but it got the energy out. There's a lady that her husband tried to poison her during the divorce and stuff, and she was all this anger at him, and she took his picture and laid it on the bed and took a tennis racket and she beat that picture to shreds. And she got in the habit of releasing her anger on that bed with that tennis racket. And she said at the end, by the time the divorce came, the bed had a big V in it where she had broken down the springs with it. But she didn't ever express the anger inappropriate anywhere else. It was just there on that bed in a safe place of releasing the energy by appropriately releasing it. For her to take the same tennis racket and hit the guy when he was asleep or something, it had been inappropriate. Or to beat up his car. I mean, I had a lady pick up a rock and throw it through her husband's windshield as he was driving off. That's inappropriate use of the anger. I mean, it's anger, and there are appropriate ways to express it that are non-destructive, that don't hurt anybody, like going to the gym and working out, or hitting golf balls or tennis balls. One lady told me she cleans her toilets when she's angry. Another lady said, when I'm angry, I can clean my house in 20 minutes when it normally takes 3 hours. One lady slammed cabinet doors when she was angry. The anger is going to go someplace, and having appropriate ways to release it is important. And jogging, working out, all those kind of things. The larger the muscle system involved, the more energy you're releasing. And that's a critical thing, is releasing as much of that energy as you can in constructive ways. Appropriate ways are constructive, non-harmful ways. Inappropriate ways are destructive. They hurt somebody, they destroy something. You with me? Now we get to choose that. We all get to choose. Second thing we can do with this energy is we can vocalize it. I didn't hear that comment. But through our voice, we try to reduce the energy back to 0. Laughing, crying, moaning, groaning, screaming, ranting, raving, cussing. You know, certain words carry a lot of energy. Darn, it's not one of them. Okay? There's a lot of words that carry a lot of energy. That's what curse words are. They're words that have a lot of emotional energy attached to them. And so We can vocalize the anger. And this has a lot to do with volume. Whispers don't release much anger. But if I raise my voice, I don't have to raise it very much. It gets more energy out. That's why anger quite often ends up people screaming and cussing. But again, there are appropriate ways to acknowledge it and express it, and there are inappropriate ways. Might be appropriate for me to say, Holly, I'm really angry about so-and-so, so-and-so. Even raise my voice a little bit. I am angry. That might be very appropriate. But for me to call her names and cuss at her, that'd be inappropriate. See the difference? But we get to choose.
You mentioned with vocalization and other examples along the way, cursing a lot, but in my experience with a lot of people, instead of cursing in our culture, it's wild, inexplicable accusations. In my mind, that would be about the same thing. While they're trying to vent their anger, they're just making accusations.
Yeah.
That'd be the same thing.
Well, it's a defense. Accusations are a defensive mechanism to take the pressure off of me and put it on somebody else. So I can see it'd be a defensive response. But also being dramatic in a relationship. Oh, you just go so crazy when you get angry. Whatever. I mean, there are a lot of ways we express anger that we know that our partner doesn't like. It's belittling of the other person. And we'll talk some more about that when we get more into the intimacy issues of anger. Okay? So again, it's appropriate or inappropriate. You get to choose. You can vocalize it appropriately or inappropriately. You can act it out appropriately or inappropriately. Now here's the third one. We all have a reservoir inside, like a balloon, that's made up of the muscles and tissues of our body, and we store or stockpile the anger in this reservoir. We store it. When my father abused me with the switch when I was little, I couldn't tell him I was mad. I couldn't beat him up. So where'd that anger go? When a little girl age 8 gets raped, where does the anger and the hurt and all that stuff go? It goes inside. The church teaches us to keep everything buried inside, not to talk about it in many cases. And so what happens is it's like blowing up a balloon, literally, and all the unexpressed anger and emotions of your life, if we had the ability, it's all stored in your system somewhere. Your brain, your body memories. I had a gentleman in one of my groups, and it was a couples group, and every week he'd start, boy, that arm would start hurting real bad. We said, what's wrong with your arm? I don't know, it just started hurting. One night he had a flashback, a memory. His father had been an alcoholic and would come home and raging. And this particular night, mother was trying to get the boys. He had a brother out the window. Mother goes out the window. He hits his little brother out the window. As he's going out the window, his father grabs his arm and nearly pulls it off. He had forgotten all about that, but his body remembered it. I've seen that many times in counseling, that the memories are stored in the tissues of our body. The latest brain chemistry shows us that the brain, the same chemicals up here that record the memories, that there's a photocopy of that in every cell of your body, of all the memories and everything you've got stored up here. The same chemical issues go through your body.